ChatGPT, can you create some new jiu-jitsu submissions so I can best the competition?
Of course. I can certainly provide you with some ideas for potential new Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu submissions. Keep in mind that developing effective techniques takes a combination of creativity, technical understanding, and experience in training and testing. Here are a few concepts for new submissions. Submission, the Cobra Clutch. Description. This submission move is a variation of a traditional guillotine choke, but instead of using the arms to apply pressure on the neck, the attacker uses their legs to create a cobra-like squeeze on the opponent's throat. Execution. The attacker begins in a standing position in front of their opponent, with their opponent's head tucked under one of their attacker's arms. The attacker then wraps their legs around the opponent's neck, with one leg in front of the opponent's throat and the other leg behind their neck. The attacker then squeezes their legs together, creating a crushing pressure on the opponent's neck. The attacker can use their hands to assist in the submission by grabbing their own ankle or foot and pulling it towards their body, thus increasing the pressure on the opponent's neck. Variations. The Cobra Clutch can also be applied from the ground position, with the attacker on their back and the opponent in their guard. The attacker can then wrap their legs around the opponent's neck in the same way, applying pressure with their legs and using their hands to assist in the submission.
All right, so the first one we tried was the Cobra Clutch. That's the one where I had to wrap your head up in a guillotine and then also throw my legs around your neck at the same time.
Oh, that was the standing.
That was the very first one. Yeah, that one wasn't really good, huh?
No, that one wasn't good.
I mean, I think ChatGPT, it's just, that one's just, there's a couple that just weren't physically possible. Like that was just.
Yeah, especially from the standing position. I mean, I just don't understand how you could ever get into that position.
I feel like you need to be a rock climber.
Yeah.
Like I feel
maybe
like
UFC, like you jump off the cage and then.
Yeah,
and then
but even still, like having their arm wrapped, like I think in the standing position, like you had to give up my head to even get your legs around my neck. So.
Yeah, and then it wasn't really clear like what kind of lock you would use. Like, would you use like kind of like a figure 4 lock with your legs, or would you then try to, I don't know, like slice the legs?
Right.
Like straight. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know about that. ChatGPT. I'm gonna say that's artificially unintelligent on that one.
Submission, the Octopus Lock. Description. This submission move is a combination of a traditional armbar and a leg triangle choke, creating a unique submission hold that can be difficult for opponents to escape. Execution. The attacker begins by securing the opponent's arm and leg on the same side of their body. For example, the attacker may grab the opponent's right arm with their left hand and trap the opponent's right leg with their left leg. The attacker then wraps their right leg around the opponent's neck, locking in a triangle chokehold. From this position, the attacker can apply pressure to both the opponent's arm and neck simultaneously. The attacker can use their right hand to pull down on the opponent's arm, extending it and putting pressure on the elbow joint. At the same time, the attacker can use their left leg to apply pressure on the opponent's neck, cutting off the air supply. Variations. The Octopus Lock can also be performed by securing the opponent's opposite arm and leg. For example, the attacker may grab the opponent's left arm with their right hand and trap the opponent's right leg with their left leg.
The Octopus Lock. All right, so the next one we have is the Octopus Lock. This was the one where we basically do a triangle, but we have the leg and the arm trapped in the triangle. That was pretty good. It seemed pretty good. I don't know how you necessarily get there, but it was not going to choke you or anything.
No, that was the one with the lower, with kind of.
Yeah, you felt it in your back.
Yeah, we both kind of felt this kind of like strange pressure, like in the kind of like the lower back area, like as we were going in, because our spines were going into so much flexion.
Yeah.
That it just kind of felt a little pain in the lower back.
Yeah, I felt it like when you raised my leg, I actually felt it in my hamstring.
Yeah.
And I don't know it's because I have like the old injury that I felt it first there, but
No,
like.
I felt that too. I
you felt that?
Yeah, I felt that too. Yeah.
So, yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna say that one.
Solid. I think that was solid. I think that was solid.
Yeah, artificially.
And again, I think like the overarching thing is that these seem pretty difficult to actually get into, but that one was like controlling and and it gave you different options because it was like you had different armbar variations. You kind of had this like spine crank situation, and then there was probably like a choke neck crank there.
Right. Yeah. That's definitely an interesting one.
Yeah. You had a lot of different options.
Yeah. So I'll say artificially intelligent on that one.
Yeah, I think that was solid.
All right. Cool.
Submission. The Chimera Trap. Description. The Chimera Trap is a submission technique that involves the attacker trapping one of the opponent's arms with their legs while simultaneously applying a shoulder lock with their free arm. Execution. The attacker begins by pulling the opponent's arm across their chest and wrapping their legs around the arm, effectively immobilizing it. The attacker then reaches around the opponent's head with their free arm and secures a tight grip on the opponent's shoulder. The attacker then pulls back on the opponent's arm while driving their shoulder down, creating intense pressure on the opponent's shoulder joint. Variations. Variations. The Chimera Trap can be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard or from the side mount. The attacker can also use their legs to trap both of the opponent's arms, making it even more difficult for them to escape.
So the next one we have is the Chimera Trap. This one was the one where we trapped the arm on the chest and then like kind of raked the other arm up over the back.
Yeah.
We did this one a few times. So, I mean, this one seemed pretty good. This was.
This seemed pretty good. I mean, the braking mechanics, there was one that was similar to, like one variation we did, which was similar to an Americana, and then there was another which would have been more similar to an arm triangle, like if I clear the arm over the top.
And like the whole time you were not feeling pressure in your neck, right? Like
there was no neck. No, there was no neck pressure. It was all like it was all back of the shoulder, shoulder.
Yeah,
shoulder.
That one seemed pretty good. I actually might try to hit that. I liked that one.
The drawback with that would be the trap. It would be the trapping of the arm.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a variation you could do where you trap the arm differently, but the problem, as you could see, it creates an easy way to just kind of like sneak out the back door.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. I did like that one though.
There might be a way to pin the arm differently, so your training partner can't just like shove it.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to try that one out.
Yeah.
So artificially intelligent on that one.
That was good.
Submission. The Serpent's Embrace. Description. The Serpent's Embrace is a submission technique that involves the attacker wrapping their arms and legs around the opponent's torso and squeezing tightly, causing the opponent to lose consciousness or submit. Execution. The attacker begins by securing a body lock on the opponent, wrapping their arms around the opponent's torso and interlocking their fingers behind their opponent's back. The attacker then steps one leg between the opponent's legs and hooks their other leg around the opponent's thigh. The attacker then squeezes their legs together while simultaneously pulling their arms towards their chest, creating intense pressure on the opponent's ribcage and diaphragm. Variations. The Serpent's Embrace can also be performed with the attacker wrapping their legs around the opponent's waist instead of hooking the leg around the thigh. The attacker can also modify the technique by squeezing with their arms or legs first, depending on which is more effective against the opponent.
All right, the next one we have is the Serpent's Embrace. So this was just literally a body lock and then you just squeeze them.
It's just a big bear hug. Yeah.
A big bear hug. You said this one
It feels kind of good.
feels kind of good. There you go. Kind of cracked your back kind of thing?
Kind of.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So as a submission, not so much.
Just a body. Yeah, it's just a body lock where you squeeze really hard. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, just like squeeze with your arms.
It might work on like an infant.
Yeah.
But as you know, or Dean might work on Dean.
Might work on Dean.
Might work on Dean. So artificially unintelligent.
Not good.
Not good.
Submission. The Hammerlock Guillotine. Description. The Hammerlock Guillotine is a submission technique that combines the hammerlock and the guillotine choke, trapping the opponent's arm and neck simultaneously. Execution. The attacker begins by securing a hammerlock on one of the opponent's arm, trapping it behind their back. The attacker then wraps their free arm around the opponent's neck and secures a tight grip. The attacker then leans back, putting pressure on both the opponent's arm and neck, forcing them to submit. Variations. The Hammerlock Guillotine can be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard or from the side mount. The attacker can also use their legs to trap the opponent's body and limit their movement, making it more difficult for them to escape.
Next one we have is the Hammerlock Guillotine. This one, I like both of those submissions in isolation, so the hammerlock and the guillotine, but it was kind of hard to hit them together. You're kind of like, if it kind of felt, if you hit the hammerlock and went for the guillotine, you're giving up the hammerlock. And if you went for the guillotine, or if you try to hit the hammerlock and you went for the guillotine, you're giving up one or the other. I mean, what did you feel?
I thought this one was the most interesting. I mean, I think part of it is that we've been working on guillotines and the front headlock system. So seeing that, kind of seeing how to use an opponent's shallow underhook to then get into a guillotine. I thought was interesting.
I was gonna say, yeah, I actually think so. Submission itself not so good, but because you can't do both at the same time. But I thought it was a really interesting way to open up the neck for the guillotine. So like you hit that hammerlock and you dive right into the neck. That actually seemed pretty good. And then at the end of the day, you're just in a guillotine, which is not, ChatGPT's.
This had the most like realistic and coherent entry into it, because it would make sense that, your training partner gets a shallow underhook, you can kind of like lock that arm in and then go for the guillotine, and you can play those off each other.
Cool.
I like that.
So I would say, just keeping with actual ChatGPT submission itself, I think a combo hammerlock guillotine is artificially unintelligent. However, definitely really good potential for actual application in a jiu-jitsu match.
Yeah.
So.
Submission, the Kraken's armbar. Description. The Kraken's armbar is a submission technique that involves the attacker using their legs to immobilize the opponent's torso while applying a modified armbar. Execution. The attacker begins by securing a modified armbar on the opponent, wrapping both arms around the opponent's arm and locking their hands together. The attacker then uses their legs to trap the opponent's torso, either by wrapping them around the opponent's waist or crossing their ankles over the opponent's chest. The attacker then pulls back with their arm while pushing up with their hips, creating intense pressure on the opponent's elbow joint. Variations. The Kraken's armbar can also be performed from a variety of positions, including the top or bottom of the guard or from the side mount. The attacker can also modify the technique by trapping the opponent's arm with their legs instead of their arms, making it more difficult for the opponent to escape.
The next one up was the Kraken's armbar. These names are amazing, by the way. It really like snakes and serpents and whatnot. The Kraken's armbar, that was a modified armbar with basically I'm not controlling your head, and I put my feet on your chest, and I apply the armbar, which, breaking mechanics wise, everything's there that you need to actually break the arm.
Yeah, the arm's in the right spot, and you have the leverage to break it, but
you could just sit up though.
Because there's the feet are on the chest, but that's still not enough to prevent you from kind of your training partner from turning in and relieving that pressure.
Well, you need pressure on the head. Like I gotta drive your head the other way so you can't turn up. So you can just escape. But keeping consistent here, the submission itself does work. Like it's like it will break somebody's arm with pretty significant pressure if you don't move. Me being able to stomp on your chest.
Yeah, you may even get a more intense
break. Yeah,
more intense break.
Yeah.
You just drive. Just drive your legs down.
But again, not hard to escape. However, submission itself, it definitely technically works. So artificially intelligent.
Submission, the Minotaur's neck wrench. Description. The Minotaur's neck wrench is a submission technique that involves the attacker using their legs to immobilize the opponent's body while applying pressure to the neck. Execution. The attacker begins by trapping the opponent's head between their legs, similar to a triangle choke. The attacker then wraps their arms around the opponent's waist and locks their hands together. The attacker then uses their legs to trap the opponent's body, either by locking their ankles or crossing their legs over their opponent's chest. The attacker then pulls back with their arms while squeezing their legs together, creating intense pressure on the opponent's neck. Variations. The Minotaur's neck wrench can also be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard or from the side mount. The attacker can also modify the technique by applying pressure to the opponent's neck with their arms first, depending on which is more effective against the opponent.
This was the funniest one, I think. The Minotaur's neck wrench. This one is impossible to do, but so basically that was the one where we started off in a triangle. I basically do all the right things to hit a triangle. Then I let the triangle go so I can wrap my arms around your body. Maybe ChatGPT doesn't have to, but I can't wrap my arms. So I had to wrap your arms around my body, then let go, wrap my legs around your chest, and then I was supposed to squeeze you, and that was supposed to create intense neck pressure, which I'm not on your neck, so that part's impossible. However, the actual submission once we got there, you said felt kind of annoying.
Yeah, again, one of those lower back tightness, but not really in danger of a submission at that point.
Yeah. So But hilarious though.
That one was funny. It would be a funny control. I think this would be a funny controlling position. Like if you were just messing around with someone and you could somehow get them into that spot. It's not, I don't think it's very easy to escape from there, but the submission danger isn't there.
I mean, I guess you do have a lot of the inside control, right? Like your whole body is inside their elbow knee space. So you do have a lot of control from that, or at least you're occupying that space. But yeah, this one was just like the first one, the Cobra Clutch, Cobra Choke. This was Clutch. Yeah. I like Clutch better. This was just physically impossible to do. Yeah. So ChatGPT needs to work on artificially unintelligent.
Submission. The Phoenix Wing Lock. Description. The Phoenix Wing Lock is a submission technique that involves the attacker using their legs to immobilize the opponent's arm while applying pressure to their shoulder joint. Execution. The attacker begins by securing an overhook on the opponent's arm with one arm and controlling their opponent's wrist with their other hand. The attacker then uses their legs to trap the opponent's arm, either by locking their ankles or crossing their legs over the opponent's chest. The attacker then twists the opponent's arms inward and downward, creating intense pressure on the opponent's shoulder joint. Variations. The Phoenix Wing Lock can also be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard, or from the side mount. The attacker can also modify the technique by securing the overhook with both arms, or by using the opponent's own clothes to trap their arm.
All right, so next up we had the Phoenix Wing Lock, which was, we tried it in guard at first, which you said kind of felt like a bicep slicer. Yeah. But it was kind of weird because ChatGPT was saying to pull their arm in and down, which usually you go in and up. I don't know, it was kind of a weird one. But we tried it again from mount, and that seemed to be pretty good. So I was able to trap your hand to your chest, basically get to a triangle position, and then take your arm and drive it across your body, kind of essentially a Kimura.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. And then it felt good from my end. I mean, it definitely was.
Yeah, no, I mean the shoulder pressure was intense. I mean, any kind of Kimura variation is intense. So
all right,
it was good. Yeah.
So artificially intelligent.
Yeah.
There we go. I'm gonna try that one. That one's good.
Submission. The Chimera's Leg Lock. Description. The Chimera's Leg Lock is a submission technique that involves the attacker using their legs to immobilize the opponent's legs while applying pressure to their ankle joint. Execution. The attacker begins by securing a leg lock on the opponent, wrapping both legs around the opponent's leg and interlocking their feet. The attacker then uses their arms to trap the opponent's other leg, either by wrapping their arm around the opponent's leg or by controlling the opponent's ankle with their hand. The attacker then twists the opponent's foot inward and upward, creating intense pressure on the opponent's ankle. Variations. The Chimera's Leg Lock can also be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard, or from the side mount. The attacker can also modify the technique by using a different grip or by trapping the opponent's leg in a different way.
Next up, it was the Chimera's Leg Lock, which basically had us in outside ashi.
Yeah.
And then I ankle lock your other foot, which I don't think is super original. But well, first it said to just rotate your foot over, which you could just keep turning, and then, I mean, it definitely will eventually force you to tap, but you have mobility, so I don't know how I can actually finish that.
That would be more of a speed. That would be more of a speed-based technique.
And just wrench your foot.
You just wrench the foot before I can rotate out of it.
And then the second variation, so it gives you variations here. It's basically just an ankle lock. So.
Which is good.
Yeah. I mean, that was.
Ankle locks work. So
but it's just an ankle lock at the end of the day. But artificially intelligent. There we go.
Submission. The Harpy's Neck Crank. Description. The Harpy's Neck Crank is a submission technique that involves the attacker using their arms to apply pressure to the opponent's neck while immobilizing their body. Execution. The attacker begins by securing a headlock on the opponent, wrapping one arm around the opponent's neck and locking their hand behind the opponent's head. The attacker then uses their other arm to control the opponent's arm or shoulder. The attacker then leans back, pulling the opponent's head forward and down while twisting their body to the side, creating intense pressure on the opponent's neck. Variations. The Harpy's Neck Crank can also be performed from a variety of positions, including from the top or bottom of the guard or from the side mount. The attacker can also modify the technique by using a different grip or by applying pressure to the opponent's neck in a different way.
All right, the last one we have here is the Harpy's Neck Crank. This was the one where we had to wrap a kind of like a loose guillotine, but this was another one that was kind of physically impossible. So I was supposed to wrap your head up and then take my own hand and lock it behind your head and then control your other arm and just sit back, which is a guillotine at the end of the day, but it was claiming that it was gonna be a neck crank.
Yeah, it was not a neck crank. It was a guillotine. I mean, you had it clean on my neck, but on my crotch.
Which is like very loose though. Like it was like because I wasn't trying to. I was like trying to hit the neck crank.
It didn't start to get intense until you were falling back into more of a guard, but with the guillotine, it comes on way faster than that.
Yeah. Well, because the guillotine, like, I'd actually be over your head, like. So this one was like it was saying to grab your neck and like pull back with it. So I was trying to do that, which is what ChatGPT recommended. I mean, what do you think? I don't think it's very good.
No.
No.
I don't think
So
it's good.
artificially unintelligent, no good on that one.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And I won't try these submissions on you when I take over